The military only organized so-called election to maintain its own power. They have repeatedly seized power in the gantry and the whole election, but not once has it led to real change.
Hello and welcome to episode 43 of What's Happening in Myanmar, a weekly show from the Frontier Myanmar podcast family. I'm your host, Luke Corbin. It's Friday, September 5, and on the show today, we will continue our preview of the military's attempts to hold something like general elections at the end of this year. What that could mean for Myanmar, for everyday people, for the military regime, the revolution and the region. Last week, we spoke with former Australian ambassador to Myanmar, Nicholas Koppel, about the elections as a political event for coup leader Senior General Min Aung Hlaing to ensure his rule and increase his international recognition as head of state. Do listen to that episode if you haven't. And today I'm delighted to have with us Nandar, a member of the Generations Solidarity Coalition of Nationalities, which is a revolutionary group formed from resisting the 2021 coup. Nandar is also a coalition participant of the Anti-Sham Election Campaign and is going to talk about that cause and its efforts over the next 3 months and beyond. But permit me to start this episode with a reminder that next Wednesday, September 10, Frontier is holding a virtual panel for members at 5 p.m. Thailand time with 3 experts, Mori Nya, Saiji Jinso, and Sumon. They'll be in discussion on the latest political developments with Tom Keane, Frontier's editor-at-large. Battlefields and ballot boxes. Don't miss it. Check your email for the link or sign up as a Frontier member now. And on that theme, battlefields, let's begin the news roundup this week. Conflict is continuing to rage around Myanmar. The military is continuing its renewed offensive to seize the Asia Highway to Myawaddy on the Thailand border. Locals reported this week that a new commander has taken over at the front lines there, and that military troops have rocket launchers, missile trucks, tanks, and engineering units in place. But the column is still suffering counterattacks by resistance forces. Then in the dry zone, military columns pushed into Yinmabin township, burning down homes and displacing some 3,000 people from multiple villages. In Budalin township, the defected leader of a local People's Defence Force collaborated with troops to burn down a charity hospital on Tuesday, and that came after the military has already restricted the shipment of medicines and other essential goods to resistance-controlled areas of the dry zone starting last month. The Air Force has also continued targeting civilians across the country. This week, in one of many such attacks, 5 women were killed in Yasajio township when bombs hit a village gathering on Sunday. 10 people were injured in that attack, including an 85-year-old grandmother, critically. And on that note, this week, human rights organisation Fortify Rights published a report naming 22 Myanmar military officials as responsible for deadly airstrikes on civilians and protected sites, just in Kachin and Karenni states since the coup. This likely amounts to war crimes under international law, and the report provides new evidence linking these specific people in the regime to some of these attacks. Now, leaving conflict behind for a moment, shifting to the main political developments this week before introducing Nandar and the sham elections. Coup leader Min Aung Hlaing is back in China. On only his second trip there since the coup, Min Aung Hlaing attended the military parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender and the end of World War II. He was there along with many other world leaders. But before that, on Saturday, as part of his attendance at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, he had sit-down time with heads of state, Chinese President Xi Jinping and India Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Apparently, Xi Jinping and Min Aung Hlaing discussed the military's upcoming elections, with Min Aung Hlaing personally thanking Xi for keeping pressure on the ethnic armed organizations that resist military rule on the Chinese border. And on this trip, Min Aung Hlaing also assured the Chinese government that the railways project from Muse to Mandalay and Mandalay to Chaopiu was definitely being implemented. Of course, large sections of that proposed railway are under the control of resistance groups. There's a good opinion piece by Saitun Aung Win in the Democratic Voice of Burma this week about those railways, and I've put a link in the show notes. Min Aung Hlaing also mentioned the Myitsone Dam in Kachin State, a deeply unpopular project with a long and consequential history intertwined with Myanmar's 10 years of reform before the coup. Retired General and then President Thein Sein suspended that dam in 2011, citing popular protests, much to the chagrin of China. And then on the India side, according to India's Foreign Ministry, Modi said to Min Aung Hlaing that he hoped the Myanmar elections would be held in a fair and inclusive manner involving all stakeholders. India is apparently planning to send election observers to the polls. Now, Modi, of course, has long been criticised for his Hindu nationalist policies and authoritarian tendencies, and his party, the BJP, was accused by Human Rights Watch just this week of arbitrarily detaining and deporting hundreds of stateless Rohingya refugees registered with the UNHCR in Delhi as asylum seekers escaping the Myanmar military. Min Aung Hlaing's China trip is still continuing with a planned visit to Chengdu in Sichuan. As he attempts to drum up support for the military's planned elections from regional leaders. Just yesterday, though, 206 Myanmar regional and international civil society organisations signed an open letter to the United Nations General Assembly, requesting it adopt a resolution to reject the election, urge the release of political prisoners, and ensure UN Ambassador Jormo Tun remains in his post. This letter is part of the Anti-Sham Elections Campaign, which is attempting to draw attention to the military's crimes. And here to talk about this campaign is Nandar from the Generations Solidarity Coalition of Nationalities, GSCN. Nandar is using a pseudonym and has her voice disguised. Hello, Nandar. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
GSCN is, of course, a participant in the Anti-Sham Elections Campaign. Maybe we could start there. You could perhaps tell listeners a little bit about just what the GSCN is.
Okay. So, hello, I'm Nandar, and I'm a member of GSCN. Our GSCN name is a Generation Solidarity Coalition of Nationalities. So, GSCN is the coalition of 23 ethnic groups that we share common political goals. We united under a collective vision to abolish the dictatorship and to establish the Federal Democratic Union, and human rights, equity, self-determination, justice, collective leadership, mutual respect, and diversity. These are our core values. During the 4 years of revolution, we engaged in the anti-dictatorship movement, internal political dialogues to share our views and perspectives, and carry out international advocacy and mobilization efforts.
Thanks for that information, Nandar. And of course, the GSCN is one of the groups that signed the open letter to the UN that I mentioned earlier. So I wanted to ask you, in your own words, please describe for us why these military-run elections at the end of the year are a sham.
Okay, for this question, so Myanmar military junta has announced the date of a sham election with the first phase scheduled for December 28 and second part in January 2026. This is just a way for them to manipulate a political way out of international pressure like sanctions without real change within country inside Myanmar. And this so-called election isn't about the people. It's about protecting military power and trying to gain legitimacy from the international community. The UN and ASEAN still don't recognize Myanmar genocidal military junta as a legitimate government. So now the junta is using a fake election to gain that legitimacy, but the war must not be full. So just another attempt to stick to illegitimate power behind a fake election. This is a political trap, not democracy. The Myanmar military junta is trying to make itself look like a lawful and stable by holding a sham election, but in reality, it continues to commit violence, spread fear, and repress civilians inside the country. And in Burma, every day, the junta carry out area bombing across the country, targeting innocent people, including children. And the junta knows they cannot win genuine public support. Instead, they want to use a so-called election to claim that they rule by the people twice. This is shielding themselves from international condemnation and war crimes accountability. And another one, This fake election is very important for the junta and its affiliated military-linked business partner, crony business elites, because this sham election image will make it easier to justify their shady contracts, deal, and international trade. And foreign revenue is a very crucial thing to run the military dictatorship, military operations. And another important point. So this so-called election is a China-sponsored election. Although the Chinese government don't say it outright, it is politically, militarily backing the current genocidal military junta. China's support, including its political stance, assistance, and pressure on revolutionary forces, is effectively sponsoring the junta to make this election happen. So the so-called government that will emerge from this election led by the military is also expected to be loyal to China. So China and the junta are now preparing to restart projects like the Myanmar town and to implement initiatives that exploit people's livelihood and promote neoliberal policy. So Myanmar, the junta forces, their group, in order to secure his power, is trading off the country. They giving up national interest to stay in control. This is giving Myanmar sovereignty to the Chinese government. So let's be clear. This criminal genocidal Myanmar junta is not holding an election for the people. They are doing it to fool the world. What they really want is recognition from international governments, and this sham election is just a show to gain that legitimacy. Yes.
Thank you, Nandar. You've put that very well. So now we understand the perspective there on the sham elections. But what about the campaign side? What is the Anti-Sham Elections Campaign trying to do? How is it reaching out to people? And what does it want to achieve?
Okay, so Anti-Sham Election Campaign is the movement to expose and make the international community, governments, aware the people of Myanmar reject and do not accept the sham election. Our campaign goal is to stop the military junta from gaining any form of recognition or legitimacy after the sham election. Myanmar people do not support or trust it. That's why these movements are happening. So the military junta's so-called election guideline and announcement go completely against democratic principle. That's why we are raising our voices to demand that international community stand with the people of Myanmar and expose this sham election for what it truly is. The military junta control only about 21% of Myanmar, yet is trying to hold election. Meanwhile, over 3.6 million people have been displaced, and daily airstrike and humanitarian blockades make it impossible for most citizens to vote safely or freely. So our campaign, we aim ASEAN and international governments, UN member states, EU countries to officially reject and denounce the 2025 sham election, that they do not recognize this sham election, and refrain from providing any technical, logistical, financial support for this political trap, the sham election. So for those who can take action on the ground, so there are ways to participate from far in ways that are safe, accessible, and meaningful to them. So we are building peaceful resistance through public campaign, online protests, digital activism, and coordinated campaigns, from signing open letters and petition signing to collecting public opinion, public voice. So this movement will use a wide range of tools to make the voice of the people heard. So yeah, everyone can be part of this peaceful movement in their own way, no matter where they are. Hlaing and his military group are wanted for genocide and crime against humanity and universal domestication. So if any countries recognize the Myanmar junta sham election, they are effectively endorsing genocide. And also enabling the ongoing area bombing and war crime against civilians in Myanmar, where over 50 million people continue to live under constant threat and are being killed with weapons supplied by those very governments. So this so-called election is solving the situation in Myanmar, is making things worse. That's why we are mobilizing to stop Myanmar from falling further into violence and injustice. So this anti-sham election campaign is also about making sure the world knows the real wishes of the Myanmar people and what's truly happening inside the country. So we want to send a strong message to the world. Myanmar is going through a revolutionary period to overthrow the dictatorship. This is not just a political conflict or a crisis between political parties. Yes.
Okay, I understand the focus there on the legitimacy question and recognition of this election. But I also want to ask you, are there any components to this about regular people undermining the actual way the election is carried out? People inside Myanmar, outside Myanmar, for example, non-participation, this kind of thing?
Okay, so Myanmar people inside Myanmar, inside Thailand or another foreign country do not believe in or accept the military sham election at all. Within just a month after the so-called election was announced, the junta violence has worsened. Airstrikes have increased significantly. More military operations are increasing and worsening day by day. And there has been a rise in heavy artillery and drone attack. Violent acts are escalating and more people, civilians are dying. This is what's happening in Burma right now, just right now. And also, force conscription by the military force has also intensified and is getting worse. Now they are sending and training young people who were unlawfully detained. Just a man or two are to the front lines. Young people are being forcibly sent to the battlefield. So, and also young people are being used as a human shield in battlefield. Day by day, forced military conscription is increasing in urban areas like Yangon. So, what is certain is that this sham election is being held by the military junta under threats of guns and violence, brutally oppressing and killing the people. So it's a sham election carried out through extreme cruelty and repression. So those outside the country face the dilemma. Okay, if we don't vote, will our family inside Myanmar be killed or oppressed? Those inside the country are being threatened with guns. If they don't comply, they risk being shot or arrested. So the entire population, inside or outside, does not want to vote for the military junta. Whatever we vote or not, the junta will declare themselves the winners anyway. So the key is for ASEAN and Western European countries and the international community not to recognize this sham election is the key. Yeah.
You've already talked about China quite a bit earlier, but I also wonder about India. They've said they're going to send election observers to the election, and they've expressed some support, not as much as China, for these elections. But if India sends observers and say the military can only hold the polls in half of the townships of the country, I wonder if that could backfire. How do you see the role of India here? Is it all really about ASEAN?
Yeah. Actually, we hope not to recognize from the ASEAN. We already know China, India are super supporter for the military junta. So unfortunately, we don't have good neighbors like China and India. These two countries only focus on economic interests and money profit. They don't care about democracy, humanity, human rights, and justice at all. So no matter how much China, India, Russia, Belarus, and other countries support the military junta sham election and elections, so the declaration from ASEAN and the Union are the most important for legitimacy, we think. So that's why it's a crucial is the ASEAN not to recognize this sham election is the main key, because Western countries, European countries, they are waiting and they are hiding under the 5-5 consensus from ASEAN. So the ASEAN is the key, not to set this sham election.
All right. How about your strategy, the campaign's strategy? There's a Linktree, a Facebook page. There's plenty of videos being made by Myanmar people around the world, some of them funny, some of them serious. Why don't we actually just have a quick listen to a couple of those now?
Hey, ထွက်ပေါက်မဟုတ်ဘူးထောင်ချောက်ကြည့် ရွေးကောက်ပွဲပြီးလေတော်လန်ရေးကစက်ချနေမှာတင့်မဲနဲ့တရားဝင်လူသက်ခွင့်မပေးနဲ့
Yeah, so there's that. There's also awareness-raising stunts like the Sydney Marathon recently. Myanmar participant wore a traditional Angi and set the world record for running a marathon in the fastest time in Myanmar traditional dress. And then cannily used the photo opportunity to draw attention to the Sham Election Campaign. This is all great, but I wanted to ask you more directly about campaign strategy. What's the plan?
Okay, so for our anti-sham election to participate for raising awareness of Asian people on the ground in person or remotely online, they can participate the way so many ways. So we will have so many materials, advocacy, so opening letters or some media awareness videos or cartoons or comment campaign or digital campaign or and also petition and also public survey. So this movement will use a wide range of tools to make the voices of the people heard. So everyone can be part of this movement in their own way. Yeah.
What about fundraising? Is there a fundraising component to the campaign?
Yeah. Still now, no. In this anti-sham election campaign, so many organizations included. We coordinated for our campaign, but for fun, each organization fund itself create material using the resources we have access to. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No centralized one. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, like that. Yes, not centralized one.
Now, a bit more of a political question, Nandar. Of course, there's so many different organisations and bodies that are supporting the Anti-Sham Election Campaign. I wanted to ask you, in your experience, do you think that this campaign is bringing revolutionary stakeholders together? Or, have there been disagreements? Has it been difficult to work together? Is this a campaign that is a force for good, for unity in the revolution against military rule?
Yeah. We already know our common enemy is the military junta because the problem is the military dictatorship. So now the same common goal is to build new federal democratic nation to new nation. In our Burma history, we never succeed the coming together federalism. We just gotta holding together federalism, and also the Myanmar military systematic exploit our people. What I mean is in your question, some people think this sham election time maybe it's good for coalition building a political unity for the different stakeholders in the revolution. But we are diverse. We can't say all agreement. This is democracy. This is diversity. We accept it. And also we can discuss or we can do dialogue to find out political solution. But this is not include the military junta.
Right, I understand you're all united on that. Okay, I just want to sort of bring it back a little bit to the idea of interfering with the way the election is carried out. For example, trying to stop polling booths from opening. I can imagine those sorts of issues would generate, discussion. Do you see any value in actually trying to stop voting from taking place?
Okay, so our revolution is not to stop the military from opening police station. How many so-called elections held by the military have actually brought any real solution to the country? Election is part of the military pattern. The 2010 election, after that, they seized power when things didn't go their way. So the 1990 election, they never handed over power. The 1960 election, they took power back in 1962. So has there ever been a so-called election organized by the military that actually improved the country? Totally no. So the military only organized so-called election to maintain its own power. So they have repeatedly seized power in the gantry and the whole election, but not once has it led to real change. The people talk about democracy, the military talk about democracy too. The people call for federalism, the military say federalism as well. But inside the country, we are the ones facing oppression, killing, arrest, and repression. Right now, more than over 20,000 political prisoners are behind bars. Yet the military says they will hold so-called elections. So for the military junta, elections are just a process to make and prolong their grip on power. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good to think about it in the broader context like that. Thanks, I understand. We can keep going with that. So thinking about the future, let's say that these military elections go ahead, that Min Aung Hlaing is recognized as the head of state by China, India, maybe ASEAN. What would be next for the revolution against military rule? This is 5 years since the latest coup. What's the plan?
Okay. So yeah, after this Sham election, maybe Myanmar will announce he is a president, and also they will announce their so-called election wins. Yeah, we already aware that, because these are the history repeated. And also at the time you mentioned, yeah, India and China government they recognize this sham election. This scenario, we already expected that. But one thing is Thailand. We already know Thailand is also super supporter to military junta, and also Thailand government bankrolling payments $1 billion mainly from natural resource sector to the junta to purchase weapons, aviation fuel. We already know that. But our campaign focused to ASEAN. ASEAN is a very important. Thailand is one of the ASEAN country. Maybe Thai government announced they recognize about this sham election, maybe. But the main point is we need to publicize, denounce this sham election from the ASEAN. This sham election is the legitimacy battle, I think. So, yeah.
Okay, Nandar, thank you. Thank you for joining the show and participating as a member of the GSCN and a partner and participant in the Sham Elections campaign. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Luke. Thanks so much for interviewing about the Sham election awareness. Yes, and also I hope I really hope not to gain legitimates from ASEAN and UN to the military genocidal criminal junta. Yeah.
All right, that wraps up the interview. Now, if you enjoyed it, please jump online for Frontier's latest feature published earlier today, titled Fear and Voting in Myanmar, Junta Election Heralds More Violence. Now, also see there an opinion piece from earlier in the week where independent analyst and longtime commentator David Matheson argues that due to the military regime's repositioning in a propitiously changing global order, those resisting military rule need to focus on presenting a coherent and promising alternative to it, which could lead to building relationships and solidarity with regional civil society movements. So check out that op-ed and the feature on the Frontier website. And remember, if you're not a Frontier member, you can still read one piece of content every month for free by just signing up for a Frontier account. And on David Matheson, for those interested, I interviewed him for a previous podcast with the Australian National University's Myanmar Research Centre back in 2018, when he and I were neighbours in Yangon. That episode was about the failings of UN human rights special rapporteurs to Myanmar. Still relevant, you could argue. The link to that is in the show notes. Okay, that's enough closing. Much appreciation to you listeners for keeping up with what's happening in Myanmar. And we love your questions, remember. Please, why don't you email us, whimyanmar@proton.me. The team is looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, until next week, farewell and take care.